A new day dawns in Isgard, and the house for 10 nights has tidings for you. Mr. Small, you are to come at most excellent time. An invitation from a truly preeminent personage was delivered to the manor but a short while ago. Would that you had been present to receive it, but in any event, Sir Aymeric de Borel, Lord Speaker of the House of Lords, Lord Commander of the Temple Knights, and Viscount of House Borel, there is a lot of titles, cordially invite Mr. Small to dine with him at his estate. Oh, we have to dress up. You seem surprised. The messenger assured me that his lord has broached the subject with you at an earlier date, when the arrangement of the peace conference was still being finalized. Oh yeah, he did talk about us having to get a drink together. Of course, the interventing moon afforded little opportunity for leisure, but with the happy advent of peace, it's plain the Lord Commander sees no further cause to delay. What say you? Well, I would, but I haven't the foggiest what to wear. Any thoughts? You would ask me? Well, I'm sure that as a personal friend of Sir Aymeric, you're liberty to wear whatever you deem appropriate. That said, when in doubt, a man of note could do far worse than an alpine coat. I'm not wearing an alpine coat. At least that is what Lord Emmy has been heard to say. I assume the same holds true for ladies. When you are ready to pray, report to the astrologium. A man of House Borel shall be waiting near there to escort you the rest of the way. This is a good place to pause the main story if you want to do some side content before pushing the main story, says James. The paths we walk. Deep in thought, the Houseforte manservant reflects upon a day not so very long ago. It was bitterly cold when he first came to our city, when I stood waiting for you before the Ark of the Worthy. To think that was where it all began. How much has changed since that day. Forgive me, of late I have been studying the work of Belgian poet King, who wrote, "To ye who ask for things to come, give thought to what is past and gone." So rarely have we luxury to reflect on choices we have made, on how they have shaped our lives and lives of others. Even I, a mere steward whose deeds would not merit a footnote in the annals of history, can see the value of this. I say this to you, Mr. Small, because as you move, so too does the world. Pray spare a moment to contemplate your journey while you can. The road stretches on, obscured by an endless veil of snow. Somewhere in the white beyond stood the great iron gate, and on the other side a humble manservant, who waited the coming of 3 travelers. Okay, this quest series, 4 smallest quests, is a great way to end the whole Heavensward arc from 3.0 to 3.3. Alright, I'll do this one. A warm welcome to you, Mr. Small. To what do we owe the pleasure? Well, we're talking about the past. Retracing your steps from the first day in Isgard, I see. Well, no one could begrudge you for indulgence in little nostalgia. I'm reminded how much I owe to you and yours. Lest you forget, foreign merchants were subject to frankly unreasonable level of scrutiny until relatively recently. Not so now, however. Now goods from every corner of Eorzea flow into our market, and that, my friend, is a change we can all appreciate. Merchants of all nations speak a common tongue, and its words are coin. Needless to say, there is little profit to be held in prejudice, especially against those who have received the patronage of account. Thus, when the word of House Fortempt arrived, she was only too happy to make their acquaintance. Oh, next is the Forgotten Night. What will it be then? Ale, mullen wine? No, don't tell me. Tea? Oh, so it's to be memories then. Now there's a bit of drought that leaves you wanting, assuming you can remember your name, that is. I've done Alexander too. Take a friend, Tatru. One moment, she's just another girl waiting on customer, clearing tables and so forth. And the next, she got a dozen admirers asking after her every bloody night. And I'll be damned if I can remember how it happened. Singing those stupid songs, dancing those daft dances. Though, to be honest, I think it was her stories that really won them over. Stories of a certain hero, grand adventures across Eorstia, told with a flair that put a minstrel to shame. Who doesn't love a good hero's tale, am I right? Hells, we have even got one about the man who built this tavern. Was one of the founding fathers of Isgard, or so it goes. Yeah. And now, as the Enciterin told it, beside Haldrath, the only knight to survive the battle with Nidhogg, where the founder of High House's course. These days we know better than to put too much stock in the words of the church, eh? Yeah, one of them did go to become a barman. But there's more to our tale than just words. There are swords too, one which has been passed down from proprietor to proprietor since before anyone can remember. She's a rusty old bugger, but if you look closely at her handle, you can just about make out an inscription. Brothers brave and true, live well forgotten and content. A man who forsook wealth and fame and chose the life of a humble tavern keeper. It's just a tale, of course, albeit a good one. As for the truth, who can say, friend? Who can say? I can say. He knew everyone's story, though he would never share his own. An optimist, he wanted to believe in the best in people. Sometimes that faith would be rewarded, other times betrayed. But he would listen regardless, and he would hope. Mistress Mal, I was but this moment thinking of you. I had hoped to speak with you at Sir Emeric's investiture, but circumstances conspired to prevent me from attending. Mayhap you will allow me to say now what I could not say then? On behalf of House Elenhart and all of Isgard, I offer unto you my deepest and most humble thanks. You risked your life to stand against our sworn enemy and freed us from a millennia of torment. Though we can never hope to repay you, we will ever remember you and your deeds, that our children and their children's children might know the woman to whom they owe their lives. They don't need to thank me. And concede that the grand investiture would have been a more fitting occasion for such words, but I could not risk them being left unspoken. What brings you to this way? As you can see, Camp Cloudtop remains much the same as it did during the war, though we need no longer watch the skies for Dravanian outflyers. The Vanu have proven themselves similarly worthy of our attention. I say, old girl, you have the most uncanny ability to appear where I least expect you. But enough about that, Honorant? Honorat? His name is confusing. Ah, yes, my lord, Lady Laniette, I am pleased to report that we succeeded in infiltrating Wundu territory, and there observed the beastmen harvesting crystals at several different sites. Based on the volume of crystal acquired during our period of surveillance, I have prepared an estimate of how much time I believe it will take the Wundu to gather sufficient crystal for another summoning. I have also taken the liberty of drafting several proposals outlining how the Rose Knights might prevent such an eventuality, such as raiding these sites and securing their stores, as well as detailed assessment of the risk involved should you choose to proceed. By the Fury! I gathered you were clever, but I was not aware that you were capable of this. With respect, you're wasted on your master. Hard-working, full of potential, I think there is place for you here with the Rose Knights, if you would have it. That you would even consider taking me into your service is tremendous honor, my lady, and were I free to do so, I would gladly accept, but I am pledged to another, as you well know. Regrettable but understandable, I take comfort in the fact that youth of your talent and character will never want for opportunities. Pledged to another? You rascal, I thought I saw you whispering in young Silas' ear the other day. You certainly wasted no time wooing our newest mate. There will be no secret between us. You must tell me everything. Where you been sneaking off to together? What adventure you've been having? Every little detail. And don't you dare leave anything out. I don't think he understood that he's pledged to Emmy. I am sure he will not. In any event, you have jointly exceeded my expectation. I grant you leave to return to the city. Should the need arise, I shall call upon you again. Thank you, my lady. I believe we shall do as you suggest until we meet again, Mr. Small. Oh, honey. You are not the brightest person around. Not so fast. The next airship isn't due for another hour. And we have so much to talk about. Oh no. Oh no. For all the ladies to stay, it was an old familiar dance. To her, Lord Emmy would always be the boy fumbling for compliment. And perhaps there was comfort in that. A memory of home on a bleak frontier. 1,000 pardons, Mr. Small. Had I known you were planning to pay us a visit, I would have seen that you received a proper reception. A feast, perhaps, or at least a formal welcome with a man in full dress. No, thank you. I don't need any of that. You have more than earned it. One need only to look to the pilgrim who came in their droves to pray before their leave, to see the truth of that. Some abide in silence while others shed tears. Not for sorrow, you understand, but for joy. Joy at being released from Nithak's torment. Oh, I'm getting goosebumps. Oh, hey, Artie. Sir Redwald, the shipment has been unloaded and the quartermaster confirmed that all supplies are accounted for. Mr. Small, are you here on official business? No. A journey to remember and reflect? Aye. Much has changed since first we came here together, since I abandoned you to follow the heretic's trail alone. Come, my lord, mayhap you recall the survivor whom you carried back to Falcon's Nest that day? Well, his wife but recently gave birth to their first child. Is that so? Well, mayhap I should pay him a visit. Though he would doubtlessly be honoured, my lord, you need not put yourself through such trouble. Your responsibilities as Count surely leave little enough time as it is. Think not on it. I am still me, and you are still you. Whatever our respective titles, I would speak to you as a friend. This preoccupation with position and power has sown no end of discord between our two houses, to the great detriment of our nation. This is especially galling when one considers that much of what we have achieved was by virtue of our blood and not our character. So call me Count if you must, but know that I take no pride in it. Mayhap one day, when I have earned it, I will, but not today. Hi, Kalla. Já, ég sé þig. Still himself, is he? I mean, I think he's very mature. And, he has a good thought of it. An honourable man, mindful of tradition, he was loath to accept the assistance of foreigner in exile, but when forced to confront bitter truth, he looked within and found himself wanting. Pride be damned, then, if it led one astray. He would set aside his prejudice and join hands with his gifted outcast for the greater good of Isgard. I am all goosebumpy. It's this is so good. Oh, wasn't that where we went on the trial? When Teteru and Alfina were, accused of being heretics. That was an interesting event. two foreign heretics against two knights of the Heavensward. Under the watchful gaze of the Fury, they would fight, and the winner claims would be proven true. It was the opening gambit of a great game, whose stake would remain unknown for some time. And next is the Hoplon. You are Mr. Small, if I am not mistaken. We have met, though I am sure you do not remember. It was a seeming lifetime ago when you answered the Archbishop's summon. I often come here to reflect upon all that has come to pass, and when I saw you gazing at the Holy Vault, I thought perhaps that you had too. You turned our world upside down, everything we held dear for change, for the truth. They say it had to be done, that its grace sought godhood. If so, then perhaps it was the Fury's will that you prevailed. But to say it, to believe it, I know that no man is without a sin, but he was pious and humble, wholly devoted to the church and to his people. I knew him, miss him, and he was a good man. Whatever else he may have been, I will remember him as a good man. To walk to the righteous path, to live for the sake of others, to rise to the highest station, yet remain powerless to bring an end to your people's suffering. What prize salvation then? What sacrifice beyond reason? For uneasy lies the head that wears a crown. And then we go meet Merville in Limsalominsa. Think the navigator. I had resigned myself to another day spent listening to my advisor prattle on about the beastmen's latest movement. Come, Majesty, tell me of your adventures. These guardians sail in uncharted waters, though I hope this new reform of theirs meet with no resistance. It will not be the first grand voyage to run afoul a reef ere it properly began, but with Sir Emmerich at the helm, they may yet chart a course for generations to follow. Which is not to say our own doesn't need correcting. The Alliance has grown complacent. The bloody nose he gave us at the melee showed that. Nor have I forgotten the lesson at the banquet. Rest assured, we will root out any further turncoats before the dagger is at our back. You have my word on that, Lady, and Lady Yugiri beside. We haven't seen Yugiri forever. She had never been one to retreat, but less in the face of transparent theatrics. But this had been no ordinary battlefield, its rules of engagement anything but clear. So she would watch, and she would learn, and in time she would act. Oh, we're gonna go say hi to Higiri at Revenant Hole. Mistress Malicity, is aught amiss? I am both flattered and surprised that you should remember my small role in this tale, given the grandeur of your subsequent endeavours. Though I must confess to having derived some selfish pleasure from donning the garment of a shinobi once more, I am honoured to have been able to assist in freeing General Rauban from his captivity. Yes, it was pretty good. And I believe I speak for all of my countrymen when I say that we are most grateful to have been granted the opportunity to contribute to the restoration of the science. Much has changed, it is true, and much may never be as it once was. But in watching you and your rise from the ashes and rebuild, I am reminded that we must never give in to despair, for there is always something which may yet be saved. Oh. She also has... the oaths we swear. Prevention was ever better than cure, as Hikiri knows only too well. Will you be traveling to Ul'dah next? If so, I would ask a favor of you. I have prepared a special unguent to aid in General Roban's rehabilitation. Injuries such as this must be tended to daily, even long after they have healed. You need only deliver it to this man, Commander Swift. He will see that the Flame General receives it. Sure. Hello, Swift. Greetings, Melicity. What is that you have there? Oh, I have this Domen unguent. It contains a variety of ground herbs and natural oils. The recipe for this traditional medicine has been passed down for generations. Unguent. I was not aware the General requires stuff, and one of our Domen friends made this for him, did she? Very well, I shall be sure to pass it on. Actually, wait here. We have just this moment concluded a meeting, and I expect he would be glad to speak with you before returning to the palace. It's so nice I get to go see everybody. Hi, Roban. So, Commander Swift tells me that you came all this way to deliver unguent? Kinda. Daily, she says. Ah, well, mayhap it's best to be prudent. The gods alone know why you agreed to deliver it for her, though. Unless you mean to favor me with a rematch I requested? Not quite yet. Aye, jest lass, you're on a journey of reflection, are you not? Aye, Mervip said as much, and now you want to relive the moment you pulled me from the pit Ilbert left me in to rot. It shames me to think of it, that I was so blinded to his hatred. Lolorito tells me that it was not always so, that Ilbert admitted to him he once believed that I would return to Alamigo at the head of an army. But years passed and I did nothing. For all my accomplishment, for all my wealth, power and influence, I did not to better the plight of my people. Not for lack of trying, but Ilbert didn't know. He thought the bull of Alamigo had grown fat and complacent, that my story set a bad example for our countrymen. Forget your homeland and chase the Ul'dah dream, a fine, impossible dream which gave men the strength to endure their hardship and try to make new lives for themselves here. So the dream had to die. He would kill me, stir up the disillusioned, arm them at the monetary's expense, and then... Forgive me, the Scion paid the price of my failings. The gods know I've no shortage of debt to repay, or vows to keep and duties to discharge. But mark me well, lass, there will be a reckoning, mayhap not today, mayhap not tomorrow, but a reckoning there will be. A refugee of fallen nation, he had risen from the depths of poverty to claim a seat on the syndicate. Yet for all his great deed, one was left undone, and like sand through an hourglass, the years slipped away, taking with them an old friend. So, an old friend's hope. By the fury, is that you, Mr. Small? Forgive me, but what reason could you possibly have to return to this god-forsaken place? Mayhap it's fate which brings you here on this day of introspection and reflection? We are come to Gurkhan Mill to accept the surrender of half a dozen heretics who once fought for Lady Iceheart. If you are intending to visit the cellar, I would ask that you do nothing to unsettle them. I don't plan to frighten the people. So there's like a group of them down there? Maybe I can calm them down? Yeah, there are a few of them here. Wait, I know you. You were at the amphitheater with the Dragon Slayer. I suppose we owe you an apology. When it came to us seeking a parley, we were sure it was a scheme to lure us out Our Lady. We were sure about a lot of things. When she first shared her revelation, when she told us that she was not since she was reborn, we assumed it was a test. For had we not prayed for salvation? Had she not descended to deliver us from evil? She replied to our prayer, were but fuel for a fever dream, a construct reborn of desperation and denial. She was no saviour, she said. But when we marched upon Isgard regardless, she pulled us from the brink of oblivion and implored us to find another way. And here we are, ready to lay down our arms at last. It's time. She considered you a friend. Had things had been different, mayhap we could have been friends too. Farewell. Forsaken by gods and men, they found salvation in a revelation. They would take up arms against their own kind to set ancient wrong to right, cut out Iskar's festering heart, and the war would be over. This they knew, believed with all their being, until their savior told them their effort would be for naught. But I can't really blame them. They were fighting for what they thought was right. I'm glad they decided now to stop fighting. Wait, where are we going? Oh, all the way over there. There we are. Hello, Gentelot. Well, if it isn't the great warrior of light herself, she who slew the dread worm Nidhogg, bringing an end to a 1,000-year war, and my very livelihood. Yeah, I'm sorry. I am sorry about that. Well, go on then, strike me down and finish the job. Stab me right in the heart. I'll even lend you my spear if you like. After all, I won't be bloody needing it. Tell me true, for a moment I had you fooled. Yeah, gosh, as if I could hate the woman who rid us of Nidhogg. Oh, and least you worry that business about me losing my livelihood couldn't have been further from the truth. In point of fact, peace is proving surprisingly lucrative. Oh yeah, as James says, some of Nidhogg's brood are still dangerous. Good point. As our nation ties with Hraesvelgur brood have grown stronger, and our interest in Dravania have begun to expand, we have seen a marked increase in the number of travellers on the road. Needless to say, said travellers require protection, which we are only too happy to provide. Granted, such work will not earn you a lordship like slaying a dragon might, but it pays well and is far less prone to end in incineration, which seems a reasonable enough compromise, all things considered. Yeah. As long as there are wars to fight, there will be those who take up arms not out of hatred or even a sense of duty, but for the want of better employment. When presented with an alternative, such individual may gladly trade their sword for scythe, or failing that, pledge them to more worthy cause. And now we go to Tailfeather. How you doing? Something in the matter, lass? Not giving you trouble? A journey of remembrance, eh? Gosh, it feels like only yesterday that Isali turned up in Tailfeather with you in tow. Back into our lives and gone all too soon. Did I ever tell you how we found her 5 years back? In a torpor out in the forest, all by her lonesome. Aye, well, we weren't about to leave her there, so we carried her back here and tended to her till she woke up. Didn't say a word for days, Isali, just sat there and stared up at the sky, as if the ground held nothing for her. And it didn't, we learned, when she finally spoke. Now you might think she's not one to smile, but if you've seen her in those years that follow, then one day all of a sudden she says she got the truth that must be shared. Up and leaves for the gods nowhere, and that was the last we heard of her, for a time. Redemption is not beyond us, friend. Come and hear the truth, come and hear the Lady Isar speak. And they did, from far and wide. Or so the story went. Some said there was nothing in it, but I knew. I think, Melicity, that deep down most folk want to do right by themselves and by others, and they try, oh how they try. You do certainly, and so did she. Yes, she wanted to. She was trying to make things better. Ah, Hunter of Dragon and Gods, I bid you welcome. What would you ask of me this day? Once we would have had no conception of what you speak. The one mind does not forget, but we do. It can be most distressing. To remember is not enough. One must strain and give word to memory, and inscribe word upon parchment. This is the Chronicle's calling. He wrote how you came to Loth Estvath, and how you left to slay Ravana, and how a young hunter trained with the old hunter while you were away. We shall treasure these memories, this history you have given us, and when new Vath join us, we shall share it with them as well. Bound no longer to the will of the many, they were now free to walk their own path. Thus reborn, they would write the first chapter of a new history, to be passed on to future generation, and as their culture grew older and richer, so would their story. Okay, Annex Shrine, Vidofnir is next. Oh, like I am getting nothing but goosebumps through this quest line. It's terrible. Friend of Isale, warrior of warrior, thou art ever welcome in Annex Shrine. What bringeth thee to us this day? There is much wisdom to be gained from looking to the past, to walk half-remembered paths and mark anew their twists and turns. We too do this, though not through pilgrimage, nor less the written word below of thy historian. In song do we perceive the deeds of our lost and chronicle the passing of ages. Not hath greater power to stir our heart. It was a dirge of profoundness, sadness that roused Nithok's brood to action. A dirge which soundeth no more. Now a new song riseth to fill the void, one of hope rekindled, of war end and peace and rebirth. I shall sing of thee and Isali ever after, that all may know and remember. In the chorus the fallen could rise once more, for none are dead whose name yet echo in the heavens, and the song would not end until the last voice fell silent. Heroes and villains, sinner and saint, all would live again. Oh, and Mogholm. Well, ye yanked my palm and called me a molebat. I certainly wasn't expecting to see you today. Still calling yourself Melicity? Not that there's anything wrong with that, Kupo. Anyway, what are you doing here? Thank heavens for that. I was sure you were going to ask for help with yet another one of your earth-sighting quests. But by all means, we would love to pass the time reminiscing about the good old days. And when better than now, Kubo? What with your friend visiting and all? Wait, here and I'll fetch them. My friends are visiting? Oh! You're here. Full glad am I to see you again, Melicity, and in Mogholm of all places. Kupo, it really is you, and just when we were about to leave. I think it's wonderful, this pilgrimage of yours, a final reflection upon the past, that you might face the future with eyes unclouded and a heart at peace. Few would deny that the event of recent days warrants us contemplation. When last we stood in this place, I dare say no one among our number would have believed what was to follow, young Estinian least of all. Upon learning what befell him at Asla, I confess I thought him lost, but when Master Alfino told me of your great struggle and of his salvation, I was reminded of your talent for the impossible. If you ask me, he seemed altogether too stubborn to die, though I suppose it is no small feat to evict a spite-filled worm once it is made home in one's head. With Nithok's passing, the children of Iskard and Ravania may at last look to the future. It is my hope, however, that they will not forget the deed of history, nor the many thousands of lives lost in their conflict, for only through remembrance they will avoid the mistake of the past. This is so much we've done. We're on quest number 3 or 4. Ape says it's 4 quests, so we're more than halfway through. Well then, thank you again for your hospitality, Chieftain Moglin, and pray that you will one day allow us to extend you the same courtesy. I wish you well on your journey, Melissa T. May you ever walk in the light of the crystal. Until we meet again, goodbye. Even in the farthest reaches of distant, dangerous land, one may chance upon a friendly face. Though given to mischief and largely unconcerned by the troubles of the outside world, they come to understand Iskar's plight and agree to lend their aid. Eventually, that is. Hey, Ape. The crackling warmth of Alfina's campfire, the savoury wave of Isali's bubbling stew, the soft snoring of Mogan asleep on the grass. A cold wind blew that night as well, and on the morrow they mounted the steps and blew the horn. But having climbed to the summit with hope in their heart, they descended dejected, weighed down by truth too grim to contemplate. And yet we triumphed. You there! Over here, quickly! What? I should have known you would see through my disguise, but enough talk, we cannot linger here, as the guard recognized their Sultana. As you may have deduced, I was taking the air outside the palace when I saw you standing there, staring off into space. Have you something on your mind? I understand completely. So much has happened, so much has changed, and all in so short space of a time. Even now I struggle to make sense of it all. But one thing, at last, is abundantly clear. I owe you an immense debt of gratitude for all you have done on my behalf and on the behalf of those whom I hold dear. After I awoke, Papa Shan told me everything. It was a lot to take in, but nothing could prepare me for what Lord Lolorito had to say. The ruthless, manipulative swine came before me and expressed regret for what had come to pass, and thinking to make amends, offered all of Telechi Adelechi's asset, as well as half of his own personal fortune to the crown. And I accepted. Long did I debate how to use this wealth. There is no end to the troubles facing our nation, and no shortage of worthwhile causes. Yet none among our people have suffered more than the refugees, and it is they who shall be first to receive aid and succor. There is also the matter of the terrible wrong committed against you and yours, for which I am in large part responsible. Nay, do not protest. It is the truth. Accordingly, I have set aside monies to aid in the Scion rebuilding, if you would have them. Mayhap it would be best if we did not. I see. I trust you know that I would never presume to atone for my mistake with money. I only wish to see it put to good use. Assuming you have no objection, I shall pledge the fund to the continued development of Revenant Toll. Yes, sure, that's okay. Oh, listen to me. So much for enjoying a moment respite outside the palace walls. It rather seems that I have brought my responsibilities with me. I suppose I should return. Lady Lilira, you must come home at once. Father is worried sick, you know. Gah, confounded you lot. Search this area and knows he came through here. Papa Shan is looking for her. Oh, on the other hand, it is essential that the ruler sees firsthand how her subjects go about their daily lives, and I have not visited the market in weeks. It would seem a shame to let this opportunity go to waste. Malicity, might I impose you to have a brief yet cordial conversation with those sultans sworn? I leave the choice of subject matter to you. Take care. Oh, she is amazing. So, where next? Oh, I'm supposed to speak to the Sultan Sworn. Hello. Ah, I beg your pardon, miss, but did you perhaps see a young noblewoman pass this way? She would be around your height? Nope. Are you certain? Oh dear. Master Papashan said this might happen, but I never truly believed he was serious. Oh, honey, I'm sorry. She does this a lot. Wait, I know you. You're a Malicity Mal. What a stroke of luck. I can think of no one better qualified to help us. You see, it is no mere noblewoman that we seek. Ah, but Master Papashan was most explicit about the need for secrecy. Pray forget I mentioned it. We will find the lady on our own. What cruel fate to lose her father as a child, and be compelled to rule in his stead, and how the year had tempered her dream and taught her something brutally, the price of naivety. Though outwardly unscathed by her ordeal, it was wiser and more wary Nanamo who reclaimed the throne. Yeah, that kind of makes sense. Leah? Hello. There you are, Malicity. Higiri told me of your pilgrimage. I knew I was only a matter of time before he sought me out. I too have been reflecting on the choices which shaped my path. When I took to the road with my grandfather, when I joined the Crystal Braves, when I tried and failed to warn you before the banquet. I had my suspicion about Wildred's death, that it was the work of a Garlean spy within our ranks, but I could not be sure who was involved, hence my desire to speak with you in private. I thought long and hard about how to approach you without arousing suspicion. Mayhap too long. Eventually I decided to arrange a meeting through Mistress Mamodi. Little did I know that bastard Laurentius had seen me do it. Shortly thereafter the fort received urgent summon. Needless to say, I had no choice but to answer, and soon found myself at the mercy of Captain Ilbert's band of traitors. They confined me to the Rising Stones along with others still loyal to the Scion. Riol, Ephemere, Archimus. Quite what they planned to do with us I couldn't say. Mayhap they thought we would return given time. The fools. Lieutenant Yuyuse bid the third keep us under constant guard. But when Captain Ilbert moved to carry out General Rauben's execution, they were forced to withdraw all but a token force, which we took by surprise one night, and then it was over. One might argue that it turned out better than it had any right to. All things considered, still, there are nights when I lie awake wondering if I had done things differently, if I had been more careful or more decisive. What then? But there is naught to be gained from thinking thus. We must count on our blessing, must we not? We are still here, and most of what was broken can be rebuilt. You will see, Malicity, you will see. For freedom of all, it had begun with an oath and ended with a betrayal, as the conspirator turned on their comrades for coin and country. The good and true were beaten and imprisoned, or else butchered where they stood. But even in the darkest moment, they never stopped believing that the dawn's light would shine again. Why, hello there, Malicity. Fancy meeting you here. Hey, Vetch. And Biggs. Reminiscing about the glory days, eh? Aye, we spent many a sleepless night hammering away in the corner of ours. How's your manicutter holding up, by the way? I never use it, but it's good. Ah, that's good to hear. Not that I had any doubt, like our craftsmanship's second to none. Quite right. I will take more than a swirling wind and raging dragons to bring her down, and that, my friend, is an ironworks guarantee. Speaking of which, on the back of the field's test success, we've gone ahead and licensed the design for mass production. Soon, the Sky Steel manufactory will be turning out man-cutters by the dozen, which is why we're here today, as a matter of fact, to make sure the machinists don't bugger anything up. Apparently, adventurers have been queuing up to place an order, and even some sky pirates. Ah, just imagine the sea of clouds teeming with our creation fills me with a father's pride. Right then, that's enough patting yourself on the back. We've got to make sure the cutters are up to snuff, or Jesse's never let us hear the end of it. From now till we finish, there will be no more breaks, distraction, and not one wink of sleep. Do you hear me? Oh. There. Well, we'll leave you to it. Till next time, eh? Despite the many hardships they had endured, or perhaps because of them, they greeted every new challenge with a smile. Their workshop, their battlefield, their tools, their weapons, their invariable rose to their occasion, delivering ingenious solutions to seemingly insoluble problems. Ugh. Sometimes reading English is hard. Then is the churning mists. It's kind of neat we see other people like here on their quest line as we come to reminisce. Through tempestuous wind they carved a path, breaching the dreadworm's sanctum, and there did they put him to the sword. Yet in the wake of hard-fought victory were secret laid bare, in a vision dark and disturbing. The legacy of fathers, bequeathed to their son and passed down through the generation, old blood enduring anew the mark of original sin. And there she is, at last. Gabrielon said you were wandering all over, reminiscing about days gone by. Seems a bit soon if you ask me. It's not like I don't understand though. Some days I'll be walking through the broom, same as normal, and it'll hit me all of a sudden just how much has changed for us, though I know it's a bit different from what you've been through. Puts me in mind of the first time I saw her and her friends up near the Etherite being shown around by the House Fortem's man. Oh, you never told me you had met before? If it weren't too much of a meeting as heckling, to be honest, when I heard their guide warning them of paying a visit to the broom, it stuck in my craw, and you gotta admit that Master Alphino the spitting image of a snotty little lordling. That's true. A little lordling that went on to fight 2 knights of the Heavensward with Malicity here and trial by combat, not to mention helping retake the vault from the true brothers. Fury have mercy. It feels like a bleeding lifetime ago, don't it? 'Cause it was. What we got now is nothing like what we came before. It's a bleeding rebirth is what it is. Cold comfort to the folks who died getting us here. Still, this piece is ours, and we owe it to ourselves to make the most of it. Meaning, we've got to work twice as hard to make the broom a better place, and no more harassing blue bloods neither. Good. Aye aye. A world apart from the opulence of the pillar, they toiled shrouded in the haze of the broom, sentenced to a life of hardship by birth. They dreamed of revolution as children, dreamed of fairies. Then one came and went, and they suddenly found themselves with a seat at the table. Oh, And now we go to Oxundu. Oh, clouds apart and let shine brilliant sun upon Lonuvanu. Great Netherling, warrior return to Oxundu, and on pilgrimage of remembrance? Well, well. Know that we will always be grateful to you for victories over the ravenous white. No longer need we fear for the safety of our smallest island. But Lonuvanu is not one to forget Netherling's first coming. Once he saved us from certain death at the hand of black ones, distant memory though it is. Yes, her many deeds are the stuff of legend. We shall remember the stories and the hero's name, Malisti Mal, for they are worthy of celebration now and ever after. An earnest, good-natured people, they had borne witness to the rays of their beloved god twisted manifestation, and proclaimed it to be false. By the grace of kind traveller were they duly delivered from his wrath, the mad god's death signalling the birth of a new hero. And now we go to Gridania. I have a quick one over there. Oh wait, that was Istola's sister, wasn't it? Yeah, Ymitra was Istola's sister. This is when we were finding Istola because he was stuck in the live stream. See, I remember. It just feels like forever ago. Well, Matt, Majesty, what brings you here this night? Indeed, though it seems an age, it was not all that long ago that we rescued Istola from livestream. How quickly we began to forget even those memories most precious to us. In my defense, I might add that I have rarely missed an opportunity to make new memories with my sister in the days since her return. Our conversations are largely a matter of scientific and professional concern, ancient elegant technologies, primal Asians and so forth. She has an insatiable thirst for knowledge, as you know. Yet while I understand the desire not to burden those around her with her troubles and carry on as she did before, I do worry that her willingness to manipulate her own ether to compensate for the loss of her sight may have dire repercussions. She never told you? But of course not. It would rather have defeated the purpose. You should know that the technique she employs places a tremendous strain on her body. She is of course well aware of her limits, and more than willing to ignore them should she deem it necessary. I pray you see that she does not. Yeah. Regrettably, she is wont to ignore my advice when it does not suit her. Yet given your shared experience, mayhaps she will be more willing to heed your warning. Her sister was under no illusion as to the danger of the life she had chosen. Should the worst come to the worst, Istola would do what needed to be done, pay any price, make any sacrifice, and that without hesitation. She was a woman of conviction, deserving of respect and admiration, and no small amount of worry. Yeah. Oh, we go to Idleshire to talk to Slowfix. Why must governing Great Gobi Nation be so difficult? Like herding cowls, stupid cowl with mushy different views of glorious nation future directions. Oh, yeah. Yes, Slowfix knows he is letting emotion run wild. Uplander is welcome voice of reason. Not like when Uplander first returned to Idleshire, yes? So must win him in that one tongue of flaps, calling Gobbyflock thieves. But Slowfix saw a way to mutual understanding. Citizenship is social first step in strengthening communal ties. Give all a vested interest in continued prosperity of egalitarian utopia. Yeah. The burden we bear. And now Slowfix bid Uplander fulfill civic duty as citizen of Idleshire with hand-lending of great import. In cave south of settlement live Old Crone, wielder of powerful magic used to make frogmen that chase away curious gobbies. Uplander has made many busy deals with Old Crone, yes? And Uplander can uphold Crone better nature and make her call off frogmen harriers? Yeah, I can speak with Matoya. That's not a problem. Well, this is a pleasant surprise. I'm well aware that you're only here because you want something, but at least you didn't bring your little friend, so out with it. Oh, is that what the goblins told you? That my servants were attacking their poor defenseless cows without the slightest provocation? Ha! The little bugger were trying to eat them. They're lucky I didn't have my porgos return the favour. But you can tell them for me that if they try it again, I will personally feed them to my servants, one limb at a time. Okay. I do hope you didn't come all this way just to play errand girl from those dirty little scoundrels. Aren't you a bit young to be going on grand journeys of reflection? You haven't lived long enough to have so many regrets. The same goes for that boy, complaining that things hadn't unfolded as he dreamed they would. It makes no difference what should have happened to Minfilia. What matters is what did happen. The past is the past, and no amount of wishing you done things differently will make it so. You make a choice and you do what needs to be done. That's it. That's the attitude you came here with the first time, when you wanted to find a way to get to Azizla, and you would do well to remember it. Right then, I think you wasted quite enough of my time. It's bad enough that I have to suffer Istola's unannounced visits. I don't need you making a habit of it too. She was the sum of everything that had come before. Triumphs, failures, all essential, all indispensable. Had things unfolded differently, so too would she. What use then to mourn the woman who never was? There was only this time, this place, this choice. Oh, and now we visit Helix at Azizla. Hey, Abe. A blue bouquet. A bouquet of fresh Nemean lilies lies at your feet, an offering for the departed. Estinian had a bouquet last time we saw him. A thousand fire blossomed around her as he fell towards the battleship, a crimson star shower midst the impassive clouds. Then came the azure light, faint at first, soon blinding, then shattering, casting motes of diamond to the four winds. And finally we have to visit Tiamat, which is over there. Please let me free you. I just want to free you. Child of man, chosen of Hydaelyn, naught remaineth for thee here, save the delusion of the condemned. In my madness did I spy my departed brute brother in yonder skies, though I know it cannot be so. Yeah, he's one of his children, one of the 7. What sayest thou? My senses are yet my own? Then he whom I saw was but my dead brother, rancor-clad in mortal flesh. And thou didst deliver him unto death's cold embrace? I bear thee no ill will, child. 'Tis beyond me. All my hatred are bound up in moment ephemeral and eternal. My beloved's passing and his resurrection. I am no better than Ethog, consumed by love, twisted by rage. I too sought vengeance without end. Yeah, but now it's time to not be captured. Yet thou hast since renounced it, hast thou not? Through millennia I have watched as time did that which I could do not, as the men of Allagan perished and their work fell to ruin, leaving me to think on mine own sins in solitude. What folly to despise man his base desire, when hated hand so effortlessly drove me to take Ascian reed. Then look thou on him again, with eyes unclouded, and marks how he labours to rise above his nature, how he and Hrasvelga brood now raised their voices in shared song of peace. This my dearest hope, that it shall prove the founding stone for a bulwark against the dark. As time delivered Allagan unto its reward, so too will this prove this peace true, or fleeting, as I remain here apart and watch. Please, just... Chosen of Hydaelyn, it is well that thou cometh unto me in contemplation, but the road stretches ever on, and thy battle is not yet won. Perhaps there was hope for them, perhaps this time they would learn and remember, but her part in the tale had ended long ago. Within this monument of hubris would she remain until the end of days, beyond redemption. But why? She understands how she fucked up. This feels so cruel that she remains here forever. I think she needs some help to understand that maybe it's time that, she forgive herself. The Undying ones were defiant, disbelieving even as death embraced them. Then the knight too succumbed, loyal to the last to a cause long lost. His body growing light, the archbishop looked upon the arbiter of his fate and knew not what he saw, and then it was over. Naught remained save the eyes, thinking to bear them away from the cavernous hand of men. Estinian took the accused baubles in his own hand, and was duly bent to their will, if only for a time. At a friend's behest had he embraced upon the journey, and so after the triumph homecoming, and all the pomp and circumstance, there was but one way it could end. Pay respect to a friend. We're going to Orsifan's grave, aren't we? Hey. Hey, friend. You learned the emote Orsifan. What is that emote? Oh, it starts with an A. So it's here. That's cute. Look at Iskar there in the distance. It looks so peaceful.